Welcome, everybody. This is the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel, and this live stream is every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, titled The Doctor's Orders. My name is Dan C. Bearded, your co-host. I love working with this company. I love helping with the marketing, the ideas, the execution. So amazing. I wish you guys could see everything behind the scenes, which is part of the reasons of the show. And I would like to introduce my other co-host, and that would be Nick, Dr. Nick himself. Nick, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. It's been a good day here at the office, and it's been a good day with partners in the area near the office. Got some exciting stuff to tell everybody about. Give some teasers and some stuff in the works. But no, man. It's been good. It's been good.
You guys know there's a lot of stuff that's been working on and progressing. Well, some things hit a really nice mark today, and we'll be excited. We love Mark Brown in the chat. Not that Mark. It hit a new mark. And so we're excited to go over all those and tell you guys a little bit of teasers. We got a couple of topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a discussion on shipping options. We're going to have a discussion, and Nick's going to give some information about a new chemist that they've been working with. And we're going to talk about the review system that we thought may have been broken, and got some stories there to go over. So I am super excited to go over these. And just a quick gentle encouragement, if you guys could, as you come in, hit that thumbs up to show YouTube that you like this stream. This is a young and growing YouTube channel. Oh, by the way, Nick, today we hit 350 subscribers.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. So
that
super cool.
Awesome. Man, you guys are awesome.
It
Love
really
having
is.
You guys here every week like this. This is so cool.
Yeah, and if you think anybody else is super into beard products or beard companies, or even just the business behind a family-owned kind of company, consider sharing this with them. I think they might enjoy the discussions that we have on these streams. And this is episode 19 in a row without ever missing. We hope that you guys go back and check out some of the earlier ones. We took field trips down to the wood shop that they own. We took field trips to the lab, to the server room for the cybersecurity company. There's a whole lot of gold that are in those previous videos, and we're both really proud of it. So feel free to check those ones out. But before that, Nick, Jill is in the chat. How was your guys' weekend?
Oh man, it was good. You know, it was kind of, so if anyone who knows us in person and comes to our house around either Halloween, which everyone here knows about what we do on Halloween, but Christmas, Jill is like a little Christmas elf who slowly explodes over the whole house over the course of about 3 weeks leading up to into right after Thanksgiving. And so it's 3 weeks worth of weekends to get stuff up, and then there's always a good weekend of teardown. So we had a quiet weekend at the house, putting things back in bins and back in the basement, but had some time in the shop. We had some things that needed to get out for people. It was interesting. Whenever Jill and I have like a replacement order to send out, or if there was a shipping issue and someone didn't get their package, which we'll talk about today, Jill has this in her head where if there's someone waiting for something that isn't just waiting on normal shipping, like if there was a USPS issue or something like that, I have not been able to talk her out of coming to the office on Saturdays to ship those orders out before the post office closes at noon. So there's people where I respond back on Friday saying, yep, we'll take care of that first thing Monday morning. Jill sees all that. And then I wake up on Saturday and she's on her way out of the house. Like, where are you going? Well, I'm going to take care of those couple orders. Those guys need their stuff before the middle of next week. I want to get them a head start, get it on the way. So Jill spent some time in the office, and the rest of the time we just, spent around the house knocking stuff out, man.
Oh, yeah, I can resonate with that strongly. I absolutely hate checklist items. I try to check them off as quickly as I can in a productive way. I just don't like having things over my head, and I know that's kind of how Jill feels on that too. So I really understand that. And also, guys, by the way, my weekend consisted of getting our basement ready. If you guys hear any noises in the background, there's an amazing team doing some renovations on the basement and Sam's Etsy shop. Essentially, haven't talked about it a whole lot, but 3 years ago, our basement flooded. We came back from vacation. We had about 3 inches of standing water. I heard it the second I walked through the back door. Gut dropped, went downstairs. I mean, it was it was a fully finished basement. And we had, 3 inches of standing water. And essentially, we tore out the carpet, just left it open, and kind of had a crazy play area for the kids, put down some like foam mats. And that was about it. well, it's finally time. Back then, believe this or not, guys, back then I told Sam, hey, we can't really do anything right now, fun stuff. I said 2023 we'll do it. And this was back in like 2020. And yeah, it's the second week of 2023 and she's already on it. So so if you hear anything that's going on, but I think it's going all well. The technology is pretty amazing. But I want to give you guys the heads up. So some exciting stuff for my wife's shop and everything. And man, and first, let's go ahead and give Instagram tomorrow, Nick. Speaking of in-house and what's going on?
Oh man. All right. So I don't know. Am I choppy on your side at all? You were chopping up on me a little bit there.
Just a tad, but I think it's leveling now.
Okay, good. Yep. So, yeah, exciting stuff here happening locally. So as you guys know, I've been on the hunt for the right print company, right? The right company to use for merch, for shirts, for hats, for beanies, hoodies, all this good stuff. And as you guys know, I'm a real hands-on guy, right? I like to see what's happening. I like to understand who's working on it. And that doesn't go real well when you're dealing with some of these print shops. The challenge that you have with some of these is that you go in there and you kind of plan things out. But what happens is they outsource almost all of it these days, right? So you go in there, you plan things, and then basically, you get a box of stuff shows up, right? And that's really kind of how it goes. And so finally, after dealing with multiples of these kind of guys, there he is, he's back. After dealing
that was user error. That was me. I was like trying to look behind and I closed my laptop too far.
That'll do it. And so that's fine. I just kept rolling. I didn't know if anybody heard me or not, but I'll just keep on going. So we found a shop, and you guys aren't going to believe this. 12 minutes down the street from our office, somehow, you go, you look, and sometimes the thing you need is literally right under your foot. And so 12 minutes down the street, found these guys, mid 30s guys. I'd say young 30s. I don't want to do them any disservice here. I'll call them late 20s. How about that? We'll make them happy when they watch the video. Young guys own their own business. They have their own space and they do everything in house. They do all their own screen printing in house. They do all their own embroidery on hats in house, to the point where if they're doing a run of our hats and it's a new design, I can go down there and actually check out the embroidery machine stitching a hat and see how it's looking like as things are coming off and make live adjustments with them if we need to. But basically more to come on this as we solidify our order and the quantities and everything else that we're doing. But rest assured that we will very, very soon not only have hats, but we will also have t-shirts. We're going to have hoodies. We're going to have probably a flannel option available. We took all the discussion about hats into consideration. I think everyone's going to be really happy with what we landed on. 2 different variations, I think, are going to make everyone happy. And the stuff is coming, and it's going to be ultra high quality, super duper nice. And we even have some tricks up our sleeve for some evolving designs to keep things fresh and keep things continuing. But we'll save all that for a dedicated stream when we're talking about merch and showing it off when I have a hat on my head. And so I promise the next time I talk about merch, I'm going to be pointing right up here to talk about it.
Yes, and tomorrow we'll have a couple teaser pics of the facility and everything that was going on today. So make sure you guys tune in to the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff Instagram for those pics and so many cool things. And speaking of that, I want to do a quick plug for the Instagram. If you guys are not on this yet, one thing that we would love for some of you guys that are watching the stream right now are the ones that really love this company, love what's going on with Nick and Jill and everything behind the scenes. We are requesting to have some of your pictures, and we have some waiting that are going to go up. Like we have Mark in the chat, Chris in the chat. They've sent in. They've got some ones coming. But if you guys have any products of Dr. Nick's and you love those products, you love this company, it would mean a lot to us if you took a picture, a couple pictures, a video with those products, and we're going to get them loaded. We're going to get them on Instagram, and again, we have a few in the works, so if you've sent in and you don't see it yet, they're coming. They're coming. We got them pending. We got some drafts. But, man, we want to show how diverse our clientele is, how diverse our friends, our beards are. We have people from literally all over the world. We have short beards, long beards, black beards, brown beards, white beards, blonde beards, you name it. We have so many. But yes, if you don't have Instagram, sending it to an email would be fantastic. Nick, what is the best email for them to reach out to?
Oh, just customer service at drnix.com. That'll go to Jill and I, and soon to be Dan, and we will be looping everybody. We'll be looping Dan in with anything that comes in there. So
there you go. So yes, please send those in. Customer service at drnix.com. That can be extremely, extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Doug said, have you seen my face? You sure you want my face? Yes, please.
I said that same thing when he told me that we were going to do a live stream. I was like, are you sure? You realize that involves my face being on camera.
I had to convince him it was a radio broadcast to get him on here. So
yeah, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, Dan, but if we're just doing audio, why do I need these lights and this camera?
Right.
Oh, it's just this thing.
So sending them to us is amazing. And Mark, you're right. Another great way to support is by making a post of your own or a video of your own, just like OG Rob, aka Straight Bearded right here. He made an IG reel. He made a post. He even made a story, a Monochrome Monday one. That's above and beyond for supporting. And you guys know that it costs absolutely nothing to support those that you're getting behind, those that you love and that you appreciate. So send those pictures in, you guys. If you're not sure, I think I Facebook messaged them. G Squared. Yeah. So yep. If Nick has those, get those ones over to me. But it doesn't hurt to email as well. Or G Squared, if you want to send them to me personally too, that's all right. But either way,
I already sent those to you, Dan. If I didn't, they might be in the folder. I might have just thrown them there and not told you.
Okay. All right. I will check those ones out. So please, guys, we've already had some amazing ones like Ryan right here writing a love note to Yule Tree, which is so fun. And then we have even beyond that, we have a video of applying the balm stick. If you guys are curious, that is the balm stick. It is meant to be able to apply with hands or without hands, which is, I think, super unique and super convenient. So guys, anything out there like that, unbelievably helpful for us, and just showing how many people use these products and how many different kinds of beards. And yes, Rob, especially badger beards. He's got this beautiful white stripe in his beard, of course.
Oh yeah, definitely got to have the badger beards. Come on now.
Yes. So small plug there. And if you don't follow, if you have an Instagram, please make sure to follow the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man stuff. There's some really cool behind the scenes things that we show on there, and you just get to know the company a little bit more. It's almost like an extension of this live stream, but just in Instagram form.
Heck yeah. No, they're fun. I mean, it's, I was terrible at Instagram until Dan kind of showed us the ropes, but since kind of opening up to the idea and getting what it's all about, it's been a lot of fun. It's just, it's great being able to share stuff quickly and easily and get some good content out there.
Yeah, it's fun. You just have to put on like a content creator hat and think about situations as opportunities to get some shots and some videos and stuff. So
you know what's interesting is I guess I always thought nothing I did was that interesting. It
is.
And then after we get stuff out there and it's, what we do actually, and now the more I look at it through that lens, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess if this wasn't what I was doing every day, this is pretty interesting.
Right. Absolutely. And shout out to everybody that's in here right now. We got Matt and Jason just coming in, and Donald and Mark and G Squared. We got Jim, Whiskers and Whiskey, OG Fitzroy. We got Art Paul's in the building. Sean is in the house. Mark Brown, Chris B always represent. We got Judd the Stud. We got Paul X-Ray. Of course, we got Garrett hanging out. Miss you, Garrett. Hope you guys are doing well, man. And anybody else, Damien, I think we covered most of them in here. If we didn't see you guys, welcome. Ellie is in the building. Drop some comments so we know that you're in here. Zach H is here. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome.
Just spoke to Zach last week. He gave a call and we were chatting about some stuff. He was asking about travel kits, which it's so funny. Every time Zach has called to ask me about something, I'm like, man, get out of my head. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, literally.
We talked about all kinds of fun stuff, though. We talked about some engineering stuff. We talked about guns. We talked about all kinds of good stuff. Jill walks in the office. She's like, who are you talking to? I was like, oh, it's Zach. And she's like, oh, your buddy Zach out in Colorado? I was like, yeah.
Nice. That's so cool. Yep, that's what's beautiful, man. It's a real team, real people behind the scenes, guys. You're always able to. No, Guns and Beards is here. Welcome, welcome. Rocking that Yoda beard. I love it. Does
Hell
Yoda
yeah.
forgive my ignorance? Does Yoda have a beard in the movies at all?
It depends what era of Star Wars you're talking about, but he has had some fuzz from time to time.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
He could
absolutely.
definitely use some oil and a heat brush, sometimes based on the looks of it.
Yeah. Yep. Judd has tickly hands. It said it tickles his hands to put the balm stick on his hands. Try to put it right on beard. Yeah. When you use it, Nick, do you go straight up balm stick to beard, or you do go in hands?
So I do both. I'm a hybrid balm stick user. So on the sideburns, mustache especially, I do straight from the stick. I go right on the stick to kind of keep those guys down a little bit, and then the same. I kind of do one of these with the balm stick, and then to kind of keep rid of some flyaways, I'll just kind of put some on my palm, and then I kind of just go down once on the outside, just to kind of give it an outside smooth. I don't like any stiffness at all down here. So I like to just kind of get it on the outside to help knock down any little flyaways I might have that the heat brush doesn't take care of.
Okay. All right. Beautiful.
So kind of both.
Cool. And if you guys have questions for Nick, for Jill, or for the company, drop them throughout the stream. We will be happy to go over those and happy to shed any information that we can. We do have some topics today, but you guys kind of drive the stream and let us know what you want to talk about and different things that you have. So already we got a question here from my man Diablo, and he says, does anyone ever use the butter and apply a small layer of the balm as on the outer layer? Was thinking of trying that.
Yes, I do. And so on dry days, like if it's just extra dry outside, if it's really cold or I'm going to be outside a bunch, I'll do a little bit of butter along with my oil in the morning. And then I still do my same balm routine. And so, I'm once in a while, I am the 3 outside of the shower products all at once kind of guy: oil, butter, and some balm. And I don't know if that's just because I think that's probably because I have them in front of me that I ever probably considered doing that.
Yeah.
But after doing it, I mean, it's not to say like, yes, buy everything, use it all. I think in some cases, for some people, if you have extra dry skin and you also deal with some flyaways and some frizz once in a while, I mean, I think the butter in itself helps calm down those flyaways and frizz a bit.
For sure.
Kind of, keep things together. But then that balm's just a little extra kind of outside layer of hold that I really like. And with a heat brush, I find that the heat brush kind of melts and breaks down that beeswax in the balm, and it really does help kind of freeze it in place wherever you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only reason my mustache is shaped like this, is because of balm and a heat brush.
Absolutely. And then here's kind of a combo question for you. I'll read both and then I'll kick it to you. G Squared said, I don't usually use balm, but the stick is really tempting. Yeah, I don't even know anybody else that does this. So he's asking, what's the wax content? And then we'll pair that with Rob's question. What is the hold like if you were to describe the balm?
Medium hold for sure on the balm. It's not like a gel. You're not going to get that rock hard finish. And there, like Jill said, there is more coconut and shea than there is beeswax. It is a smaller percentage. So I definitely call it a solid right down the middle. 0 to 10, it's a 5 or a 6. And because it has the coconut oil and shea on there too, it's not as nourishing as the butter would be, but it's definitely right there in the middle ground from a nourishing standpoint as well.
Perfect. And then I'll take this question. Kevin says, a question on the bottles. I saw that on Facebook about UV protection and amber bottles. Is that really a thing? Yeah. I mean, if we want to break it down and look at the science of it, do amber bottles keep out more UV rays than clear bottles? Yes, right? We know this from the beer world especially. Yeah. But if your beard oil is anywhere near UV rays, you've already lost, right? If you have an amber glass bottle and you're putting it in your windowsill, it's going to go bad very quickly. That is not something that's beneficial. Your bottles should be nowhere near UV rays. They should be in a drawer. They should be in a closet. They should be in a mini fridge. They should be somewhere away from them, regardless of the bottle. I don't think anybody out there, and I work with companies that have amber glass bottles and green bottles and all these different colors. There's no one out there that should feel good about being like, okay, this is an amber bottle. I can have it out in the sun. No, it's oil, guys. Remember, this is plant oil that's in there. We don't want that sunlight. We don't want the UV rays. So technically, yes, that is a thing. Does it make any practical difference? Zero whatsoever. You shouldn't have it in front of UV rays to begin with. So, yep.
Yeah, it's funny. There's those bottles too. You know, we had the kind of same discussion early on about going with black square bottles that were going to be, you know, you couldn't see anything through them at all. And I mentioned that same thing. I'm like, well, this is actually really good from like a sun protection standpoint. And the guy that I was talking to early on was like, it doesn't matter. He's like, the heat is actually going to be the killer of oil more than it's going to be the UV rays. He's like, so if a bottle is in direct enough sunlight where the black is going to matter, that bottle is going to get way hotter than a clear bottle, and that heat's going to be worse for it than the clear bottle absorbing UV rays. He's like, so to your point, it's, you know, it's more of a where you store it thing more than it is what color the bottle is.
For sure. And I love the beautiful color of oils. Like, I don't know if that's weird. I don't know if that's it's strange, but I just love the golden oils. I think they look beautiful and they should be shown off. And that's an easy way to do that. Way to do that.
Yeah. And I love being able to see it through the side too.
Exactly. And I love this comment by Jason. He said, I feel like Dr. Nick's butter and balm are way different than others. I don't feel like it makes my hair stiff. For me, stiff equals waves and dips. Perfect. And kind of piggybacking, I do have a question from Garrett that we'll come back to, but Mark wants to know, does the balm prevent the blowing in the wind? He loves when the wind hits the beard.
Nope. So that's kind of, so like if you took the balm stick, Mark, and you like held your beard out and you like painted it on there and really got it in everywhere, like put it in your hands and worked it in like you work in butter, I would imagine you'd get some stiffness, but I wouldn't recommend using it like that. So in your case, you know, I've seen a lot of photos of your beard, especially with some of the new photos that you sent in, which by the way, thank you so much. Those are awesome. Looking fantastic, by the way. Your beard looks great. For you, I would say right out of the tube, right onto your mustache, and then right on your connectors, probably over here would be a good spot where if you wanted to have some hold there, might be helpful. But then everywhere else, if you just wanted to keep rid of the little wispies, again, put it on your palm, just go down the outside only, and that'll kind of just give you a little bit of shape. But I did that to mine this morning, for example, and I'm still moving like there's nothing in there, you know.
Perfect.
It still moves around great. My beard is still over my shoulder whenever I'm walking from my car into through a parking lot somewhere. It's like you can see it back here walking behind me probably because it blows all over the place.
Yep. And Garrett wants to know any future scent releases in the making. And I know this is kind of Jill's world right here. And he said, I could go for a good apple scent soon. And I do have to say, apple is one of my favorite smells in beard products.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of new scents in the works, I can say. I can't confirm or deny if there's an apple one in there or not. But I will say there are some in the works. And I think there's a new line of scents that are going to allow us to get a little more creative. That's going to be on the way. And yeah, there's some exciting stuff coming. What I can safely say is that by this time next year, we will have overwhelming variety of scents. And I think a bunch of those are coming up pretty quick here, 2023. So
awesome.
We'll have some new ones hitting you real quick.
Awesome. And great feedback on the bottles. Being able to see how much oil left is clutch. I hate the bottles. I agree. That is a bummer when you can't see. I love seeing the oil as I use it and how much is left. Yes, I love the bottles. I feel like for a dropper top, it's way less risky of spilling, right? Because that is one of the downfalls of a dropper top, that if it falls over, you're losing most of the bottle as compared to a restrictor top where you're only going to lose a drop or two. But G Squared is a good point. You can grab it securely. It's not as slippery as like one of those amber rounds.
Yep, exactly right. And speaking of people who love these bottles, we've had some awesome feedback and suggestions on them too. And as people's collections are growing, they're turning them from facing forward to facing sideways on their shelf. And we had the request come up of, can we put the number of the scent on the side of the bottle? And that's working its way into our very next run of labels. So as you guys are getting things in over the next couple of months, you'll start to notice that the scent number is on the side of the Signature Series bottle. So you can turn them sideways and not be playing Russian roulette with your beard oil every morning.
That is a more fun version of the game, but
that's what I do.
Kevin says, I love the butter. I tried to rotate away from your butter, but my beard did not like it. I just threw the other butters out that I had. Wow.
Dude, you know, Kevin, it's funny. So developing products, obviously you buy other people's products to kind of just gauge, you know, without a cloudy day? How do you appreciate a sunny day kind of a situation? And so I make sure that we still I regularly try other products just to see how I react, so I can talk about them, give them feedback, etc., or maybe even get good ideas. Who knows? And it's funny. I am now it's obviously full every day, our product line in the shower and out of the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, some of the things I used to mix in from like a wash perspective, like I used to work in Lush Kalamazoo for a daily wash. I had some left over, so I figured I'd use it up real quick. Later that day, I had dry skin on my chin. I had an itchy spot, and I was like, nah, okay, nope, no more of that. So
Lesson learned.
I try to rotate too, Kevin, but it doesn't work for me.
Take care, Judd. Thanks for stopping in. And again, guys, just a reminder, most of you have, but as you guys come in, hit that thumbs up. And guys, please don't hesitate to reach out like Rob or anybody else. Nick is extremely open to feedback, extremely open to ideas. He is an engineer. He's going to digest the information. He's going to let it sit. He's going to let it rattle around in his brain for some time. He always takes it as food for thought. So just consider, if you ever have thoughts, if you ever have ideas, reach out. And it can be through email, it can be through Instagram. You can even give Nick a call. He is very, 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 very open here. And one more question before we hit our first topic, but G Squared said, any chance the IPA sitting around the office? I'm going to make it order today, but I want to try that oil one day.
Jill can comment in the chat if there is one down there that I think I remember seeing. And if so, G Squared, it's yours. And what you can do on that, if you're going to put an order through, double up on something else and we'll know what it is, but I'll wait for Jill to comment here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and hit one of the topics here, because this is actually a perfect time to lead in with Jason. And he says, does the butter have a natural grit to it? And I'll lead this to you, Nick. Essentially, butter all butters are going to have some kind of grit at some point. It can be lessened. It can be more, depending on the melting with the shipping process, different things. But this is something that Dr. Nick's have been very conscious about, right? It's not something that they want to avoid entirely, because there is a give and tell to, or a give and play to the texture. If something is way too smooth, it's probably unbelievably refined, and a lot of the benefits are gone. There's ways to get it where you want. But with that said, Jason, I'm going to let Nick give his thoughts, and that's going to lead us into this discussion at the bottom about a new cosmetic chemist, that this was one of the topics that really prompted this. So, and as Jill said right down here, it is a full-bodied butter. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So Nick, thoughts on the full-bodied butter, the grit, the texture, and then lead that into the new chemist discussion.
Yeah. So that actually leads into both discussions, the new chemist and shipping options, I think. And so it's really interesting. We spent the better part of a year getting this butter to the point where it was a zero grit butter. And we had it here, we had it locally in our retailers, and everyone who purchased it experienced an absolutely grit-free butter. Now, we started shipping it. And once in a while, we'd get someone to say, hey, how do I get rid of the grit? And the first time we had the question come out, we're like, what grit? We don't have grit. That's like the whole reason behind this butter. And so what we've discovered is that the way we got rid of the grit was with a really intricate post-production process. So, what we did, there's some steps you take that can eliminate the alpha acids from crystallizing in the shea butter, which gets rid of, gets rid of some of the issues that you have. And it's a natural thing that causes that grit, but we stop it. Now, when you ship it, we've noticed a couple of things can happen. Shipping to really hot climates, if it melts to a certain point and then re-solidifies, it can develop some grit. If even in colder months, we've had some people write back, we're talking like 1 out of 10 orders, right? It's not frequent. But 1 out of 10, maybe, if that, 10% even seems really high for what we've seen. I'd call it maybe more like 1 out of 30 would develop some grit even in colder months. And we figure it might be because things are sitting in the back of a truck that's sitting in the sun, and it gets hot inside the truck, and it's just enough to melt it down. And then when it re-solidifies, you can get some grit. And so we're trying to figure out ways to mitigate that in shipping, which was one of the reasons for bringing on a chemist that we can work with to make sure that the quality that we experience in the shop and the quality that we experience locally at our retailers is the same experience you guys have when you open up a package from your mailbox. Now, in the development process of this, we even went so far as to sit these things out in our mailbox for like 3 days out in the heat, bringing them back in, testing them. We shipped them to ourselves. We shipped them to our house. I mean, we did all sorts of things to test the shipping, and we really couldn't replicate the issue. So what happens in some of these situations, I do not know. Beyond the fact that for whatever reason, during the shipping process, temperature ranges get out of whack, and that's what can happen. But we're working on ways to mitigate that, and we're working on ways to make it better, which is really all we can do. And so I think when people have reached out to Dan or they've reached out to us, we kind of give the same advice that Dan does, right? We, recommend melting it down in the microwave, throwing it in the freezer, and then taking it out, leaving it in the fridge overnight, and then pulling it out. And in most cases, that alleviates the issue. If you are in the situation where you've got something that was gritty and you've done that process and it still doesn't resolve itself, it could have just been heated way out of range. And in which case we'd be happy to offer you a replacement, right? If it's something that it's not melting down in your hand, you can't use it because it's not breaking up, it's getting in your beard. We don't want that. We want you to have a good experience regardless of what could happen in shipping. So in those extreme circumstances, please reach out to us. We will find a way to help take care of you.
For sure. And they always stand behind that. Now, you mentioned this cosmetic chemist. What do you want to say about that topic? Who is this guy? What does he do? What does he know? And why are you excited about it?
Oh, man. Okay. So being an engineer, as you guys all know at this point, I overanalyze everything and think way too far over the horizon once in a while. And at this point, what we're doing is we've kind of moved from our proof of concept stage of, I wouldn't say proof of concept. I guess we're kind of past that, but our first kind of step of production volume for butter. And as we scaled that requires some new equipment. It also requires a little more of a commercial kitchen setup, as we kind of talked about in a couple of previous live streams, and this issue that we're talking about with shipping. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring somebody on that could kind of review our process from a chemical engineering standpoint to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do to make sure that we're delivering a consistent product. We don't want things to be different when you get them or different for different people or different between your own orders. We want you to get something, like it, and be able to get the exact same thing that you like every time you order it. And so as we scale, my engineer brain starts asking myself, what variances are we going to experience as we ramp up volume? Am I making the right investments in equipment? Is the process that we've developed, is it backed by factual science, or has it been luck, right? I didn't want any of those outliers potentially impacting, future production. So I found a guy who's out in Texas. He has a PhD in chemistry. He has 30 years of experience in cosmetic formulation, and also same 30 years of experience in product and process development around beauty care, skin, and cosmetic products. And so we have a contract in place with him where we can review our processes. He can check recipes. He can give insight into post-production, pre-production processes that can help consistency and just help predictability of the outcome, and double checking our equipment list to make sure the investments that we're making are the right ones and that we're not making any missteps, which is just talk about a wealth of information. The good news is that he didn't have a whole lot of critique around our process, our ingredients, anything else. He says one of the first questions actually was, who developed the process and the recipe. And I told him Jill, and as we were chatting back and forth, he's like, wow, he's like, what's her background? You know, what kind of degree does she have? Thinking that he was kind of talking to a peer based on her process and the way that she worked up her recipe. So he was really impressed to hear that a lot of this was just sort of, self-taught. And, Jill learned a lot of this just based on experience herself and lots of research and reading. So had some awesome feedback about our ingredients and the process, had a couple of tweaks to help us kind of nail down consistency, and some good suggestions, I think, that are really going to help when we scale this, to be able to just keep the exact same outcome that we have now, which is 90% of the time, perfectly grit-free butter that everyone really, really seems to love.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard great things, and it's such a nice resource to have available, especially as these things work through. And we'll hit another topic in just a second here, but there was a good question that I saw from, where did this go? Essentially, I'll find it here, but essentially someone said, are there any plans for an order online and pick up in person situation for the future?
Yeah, so we are. So we've had people reach out that are either local, don't want to use a credit card, they want to be able to pay in cash, or those sorts of things. And so we do have an area here in the office that's kind of lending itself to be a bit of a lobby. And I think after we add probably one more person into the shop, we're going to be able to support the delivery options that we're going to talk about here in a minute, along with an in-person pickup. And it'll give you a date as to when things will be ready, and it'll be a package just waiting out front to get picked up, and in some cases even waited to get picked up and paid for. Just like when you're ordering delivery Chinese food, you got delivery, you got pick up in person, pay with card, or pick up in person and pay with cash on site. And so we hope to have that sort of a system up for people that are local.
Perfect. Now, speaking of shipping here, and we're going to get some feedback from you guys with this shipping discussion. Nick, I want you to go over the options that you're considering, the options that you're pursuing, and then anybody in the chat, give some feedback as well. Is there something within reason? Obviously, prices are going to be prices. Like if you say, hey, I want free shipping no matter what, like, okay, we value that, but then the price has to go somewhere else, of course. But if you've had a great experience with a certain shipping option, a certain shipping carrier, if you prefer to have the option for this or that, let us know in the chat. And Nick, go ahead and take it from there. What's in the world of shipping for Dr. Nick's? What's going on?
Yeah. And so, the way it's basically working is USPS has kind of changed a lot of their policies going into this year. And one of those policies that they changed is with first class shipping, it's limited to strictly now. We used to be kind of open, a little up in the air. But they've limited it to 12 ounces, 16 ounces. So a pound is as much as you can ship standard first class in our packages. So that, we've been kind of wrestling with that. And one of the things through looking at all the shipping that I found is that I decided I'd really like to give people options of how they'd like things shipped. So what we may be forced into doing is that orders that are under a certain weight ship for the flat rate $5. Then there's the chance that when it goes beyond that, you have to pay actual rate for a priority. Now, so looking at those options, one of the things that I'm going to do right away, and that's going to be like this week, is introducing the ability to select your shipping carrier and the speed of your shipping service. And it'll do a calculated rate just based on your address and the weight of the package. And obviously that requires just some massaging back on our side from the calculated weight, but also the dimensions of the package. It's based on the number of items that you order. Obviously that changes the size of the package. So there's a little bit of stuff that you have to configure in the back end to make that predictable and accurate. We're not going to mark up shipping. So my idea is that you would have standard shipping, flat rate, $5. And then you would have a list of options down below that, like UPS ground, UPS 3-day, 2-day, UPS next day air. And you would be able to see the prices associated with those options and select the one you want. And that's how it'll ship. So just giving a little more flexibility to people, like say you're out in California and you want something this week, it might be worth it to you to pay for 2-day UPS. And, as opposed to needing to handle these on a one-off basis and take care of it for people, we figure that we'll be able to just give you the options, and you'll be able to pick there on your own.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't know anybody that disagrees with options, right? The same standard is going to remain, but there's just other options. If you prefer a different carrier, if you prefer a different speed, you're going to be able to jump on those. And who knows? Maybe you're going on vacation, you need it quicker, or you've just had terrible luck in your specific area with USPS, and you want to go with something else. So there's all sorts of situations where that could come in handy.
Yeah, there really is, and most people get their USPS stuff super fast with us. Like we have people where we ship out on a Monday and people get it on Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, sometimes it's really, really fast. I think even shipping to you out there in Michigan, Dan, when we send stuff regular first class, it gets to you in about 2 days.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick. But then again, we've been experiencing some nasty issues with USPS. And, if I could get the same rate commitment from like UPS and use that as our standard shipping method, I absolutely would, because the tracking has been a challenge in some cases with USPS. Like it's just not accurate. There's been others where it says it gets marked as delivered and it's just not there. And we've had people reach out and say, hey, it says delivered, but I don't have it. And USPS is zero help clearing that up.
All the time that happens. It usually shows up 2 or 3 days later because somebody they marked it shipped, they leave it on the truck, and then it just gets stuck there, whatever the system is. It almost always shows up, but that's super frustrating. I can understand if you're watching that tracking like a hawk, it's out for delivery, it's delivered, and you go to your front porch, it's not there.
It's annoying. It's super bad. Like it drives me nuts when that happens. And and so, yeah, we're looking at a better standard option, car bomb, carrier pigeon. I mean, that's about what we're using now with USPS, right? I'd take a carrier pigeon over what some of the issues we've been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, for international shipping, when you use USPS as a forwarder and they send it out to another country's post, then you're just compounding the problem because you're dealing with, you're essentially dog sledding something at that point. And it's, to some of the, some countries, don't have to the door delivery. They have post collection spots. And sometimes our shipping system has no idea what those are. And it takes lots of back and forth with the customer to figure out how to massage the address to get it to be accepted by the system.
Yeah.
Not good experience with UPS to Canada, Art Balls. I mean, I've heard that as well. And so I think FedEx is going to be one of the options because we do have the ability to list FedEx and UPS as options. So I don't see anything wrong with showing, next day, 2-day, and 3-day options from UPS and FedEx, and you can pick the carrier that you want. Especially getting to Canada, we've had issues with Canadian customs delaying things or leaving things open, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
Don't be giving it away yet. I gotta feed you. I gotta feed you.
Oh boy. And so, it's one of those things where, doing everything in-house and having control of every end of your process is great until you have a part of your process that you have no chance of controlling.
Yeah.
It's maddening, right? Because you do all this work to make everything just right to get it to somebody. And then the last mile carrier screws it up and drops the ball. And to me, I know most of our customers are very understanding in the sense that that's not us. And, we obviously have very little control over what happens when it leaves our door. But for some people, if it's a new customer, that can leave a bad taste in their mouth, which just isn't good for us. It's not good for them. It's just not good as a whole.
And Art, I was just telling Nick about this literally 5 minutes before the stream about how FedEx does not have those import fees. We just discussed that. So that's something 100% Nick is looking into to kind of get ironed out, especially for those international orders.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I actually had no idea that was even a thing. So that's huge.
Perfect. Now, speaking of shipping to internationally, shipping to other countries, dealing with customs, and essentially, so you guys know how international shipping works. The address setup is totally different. You have to declare what you're shipping out there. I have a funny story, super summarized story, but I had to ship somebody a poop knife to Canada, and they made me in person, the lady's right in front of me, and you have to fill out the slip of what is in this package. And I wasn't going to write poop knife. For one, I didn't want her laughing at me for poop knife. Two, I didn't want to write knife on there because I didn't know if there were any like laws with shipping knives internationally and stuff. I didn't want I figured when I wrote knife down, I thought like the whole like FBI, like we're going to come storming it. Yeah. And so I wrote frosting spreader. Because I thought the poop knife kind of looked like a frosting spreader. And so I got home. I'm like, oh my God, babe, I froze. I wrote frosting spreader. I didn't know what to do. And she was like, wait, you just lied on an international customs form? Like, that's like federal. I'm like, oh no. So I was terrified to go back to the post office the next day. I'm like, they're going to know me as the poop knife guy, the frosting spreader guy. So yeah, that was... that's my experience with customs. But
no one wants to be that guy.
But with that said, and some of you have probably experienced this getting packages. I get packages from international companies all the time. About half the time they show up opened. Mm-hmm. And it's because once they reach the new country, the customs can inspect it and make sure there's not drugs, make sure there's not weapons, that type of stuff. They'll open up the whole thing. They'll go through it. They'll tape it back up. Oftentimes they don't do the nicest job of putting stuff back like it was. It's a mess. I've been there personally many, many, many times. But leading into the scroller on the bottom, somebody's like, Dan, you put up the wrong thing. No. Nick had not known if the review system had been working for about the last year at least, and we confirmed that it is working. Nick, take it away.
Oh man, this is a funny story. And so, I joked around with Dan and Jill saying, I don't know if our review system is just biased or it's broken or if we're really doing that good of a job, because we actually hadn't had any reviews submitted for anything that wasn't a 5-star review up until a couple of weeks ago. And what was really weird about it is I saw the review come in and it was a 2-star review for the beard butter. And I was like, wow, God, that's like one of everyone's favorite product that we make. I mean, it's good stuff. I wonder what this is all about. So I went in and I read it, and looking into it, I see that the review said something about it was left under our butter. So it was a butter review, and it said the balm arrived opened, poor packaging, or it said poor handling or something like that. And so I looked up the order, and it was someone in Canada. And so it looks like what happened is that, I looked back at the order. There was oil, there was butter, there was a balm. And so it looks like probably customs opened up the package, opened everything up, didn't put the cap back on the balm and left it in the bag. And unfortunately, we took the review hit for customs and USPS, it sounds like, and so we, it was just kind of funny. It was like one of those things where, okay, cool, review system is working, but also, damn, customs screwed us over again. So it's one of those things. It can happen, and it's out of our control. And, it's unfortunate that, it unfortunately got misplaced. So we reorganized, and, I assigned the review to the right place and let it sit there so people can also chalk it up to shipping when they read the review. I don't delete any reviews. I've never had a reason to, and I'm not going to start now. I think we had one other review that someone, I think, changed after they had a question about something, and we got back with them and they edited it from a 3-star, 4-star or something like that.
And that person, I'm not going to say any names, but they actually, and they come in the stream sometimes too. They commented on a live stream recently of mine, and they said, I can verify that Nick is a straight shooter. I left a negative review based on a situation. He left it up. He reached out to me to kind of make it right. Essentially, he said, I declined, but then I wanted to change it. And he was like, I don't know if it actually changed or not, but he said, I do have to give him props for being a straight shooter when a lot of companies would delete something like that.
Oh yeah, no, that's not what we're about. You guys know we're way too transparent for that sort of thing. And so, it's just, and also, it might just be me, but when I go see a product and it's just straight 5 stars, I sometimes think that kind of thing's going on. Like, people are deleting reviews that are negative. So if it's a 4.8 or a 4.9 because there's a couple of critiques in there somewhere, again, I welcome it. I think it adds a realistic, bit to the reviews, and it doesn't hurt to hear people's, other people's opinions. People will make up their own minds. One bad isn't going to hurt, and we're open and honest, so we leave them.
Reviews are bittersweet. I've seen stuff on Amazon, let's say for reviews, and I know people get turned away from products because of the reviews, and I go through them and I'm like, oh, these are 100% user error. Like, this has nothing to do with the product. They'll make a comment about something, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with the product. You just did it wrong. You just broke it. And I'm kind of with you without you even saying it. We trust in people. We believe that consumers are smart. We believe that consumers know what's going on and they can see those things. And here's a great quote from a rap artist named Drake. And I know some people will roll their eyes on this one, but I live by this quote. And he says in a song, he says, "Why let the story run if it's false?" And he said, and I'm about to blank. I just had it. He said, "Why let the story run if it's false?" And he said, because it's something along the lines of it's stronger to say nothing at all. And you just leave it, right? You let people form their own opinions. You let them see that information. Just because something is said doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Let's say that there's a less than stellar review because something didn't work for them personally. That doesn't mean that information is relevant for you. And so letting that story run, there's no harm in that. There's no foul in that. People will decide themselves. And so it's good to know that, there's nothing but transparency here. And that's how it should be.
Yeah, it is. And it's good to know, it's funny when you read reviews, because you're right. Sometimes I'll read a review and it'll have you click on the 1 stars or the 2 stars to see what negative stuff people are saying. And it's like, product arrived damaged from shipping. It's like,
right.
Oh, okay, well, I doubt all of them are going to show up damaged from shipping.
Right.
But one of those kind of things.
For sure. And it's like, did it have to do with the packaging of the company, or was it the mail? And I still, man, and there's companies that have made some good content on this. I still don't know how some of these packages arrive the way they do. I had one the other day with a full-fledged foot impression on it where it saw the sole of the foot on it. It's like, how do you have such little care that something like that happens?
It's like, wow, okay, this was damaged by a size 12 Sorel.
Right. If we need to find a serial killer, I've got the evidence. It is the Zodiac. I found him. So yes, and
oh god, Jill, remember the kettlebell? Whoa. Yeah, God, shipping carriers, man. We had this someone bought me a kettlebell for Christmas. It was like in the shape of a gorilla head.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah, it was called like the Beast. It was like a 70-pound kettlebell.
Yeah.
And I came home one day. I didn't know it was coming. And there was a box sitting on my front porch with a bunch of styrofoam laid next to it. And I get out of the car and I go look, and there's a box, styrofoam, with a kettlebell laying down on the ground next to it. But even worse is I kind of look down and I notice a bunch of broken stone under my foot. So I kind of step back and look, and we got these blue stone steps going down off of our mudroom door. What this guy did is he must have dropped the box or something. So he was angry when he got up to the front porch, because the camera inside my garage heard the thud of this thing. He clearly got up there, threw it onto the front porch, 70 pounds.
I was going to say, he had to know that thing was, he was holding it.
And so he threw this thing onto the stoop, and it broke out of the box, and then 70 pounds rolled down handle over kettlebell down the steps and broke big giant chunks off the side of our steps. I had to open an insurance claim with FedEx and get quotes for repairing it. The quote's still open. The estimate's still open. It's like a year, and it's like 2.5 years old at this point.
Yes.
It's just crazy what people do.
And there's the quote. Yeah, I say this every day. I got stage fright and froze in the moment. I was pretty dang close, but this is from the song Emotionless. He said, "Why let the story run if it's false? You know, a wise man once said nothing at all." Whoo, that's so true. So true, right?
It's so true.
And if people get too defensive on situations like that, reviews or people talking about you and stuff, there's usually a reason they're too defensive, right? If you know you did everything right, if you know that you packaged it correctly, you know that it was shipping, you don't have to go scream from the mountaintops and do those. Because I've seen reviews too, especially on Google, because you guys know on Google reviews, the company can respond to the person leaving the review. I've seen nasty responses from companies to reviews, and that's classless to me. That's tasteless. There's better ways to handle it, and that kind of like throws me off for that company.
Oh yeah, me too. 1000%. I'm like, if this is how they handle public reviews, like how are they going to handle you in person when you have an issue? You know?
For sure.
Yeah. I
For
mean,
sure.
the most we're going to do is we reach out and say, hey, anything we can do to make you have a better experience. You know,
Exactly.
we'd like to get you something that works and get you something that makes you happy. And
Yep.
oftentimes people are willing to give us that chance if something gets messed up, which is great.
Yes, so true. Now, G Squared, and I'm going to give a little feedback, kick it to Nick. He said, don't give away all the secrets, but why does this oil feel so different? I mean, my beard feels incredible, not just blowing smoke. G Squared, welcome to my world, right? I review companies, I try products, I help make products, I go through all this stuff. And anytime I say something positive, people are going to say it's hype. People are going to say you're blowing smoke. People are going to say you're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? So it's like a lose-lose situation. If I get excited, if I have super high praise, which I don't often, I really don't, there's going to be things that are said about me saying that. But the fact of the matter is, some things just are special. Some things just are different. Some things are just worth getting excited about. And every word, every letter, every syllable I've ever said about that oil is 100% factual from my experiences. It is special. It is different. My beard styles and feels incredible. Now, I do have a suspicion that there is one ingredient that we don't commonly see that my beard in particular loves, absolutely loves with a passion. And I'm just going to leave it at that, but then I'll kick it to Nick for you to answer this question. Why does this oil feel so different?
I mean, it's clearly the unicorn blood. I mean, it's really hard to get. I mean, it comes from Narnia, first of all, and not that many companies have a direct distributor relationship with them like we do. No, in all seriousness, man, I really do think it comes down to a couple of the things that are in there that really set us apart. The website talks about it a bunch, and you know, I mean, having the marula and the barrage in there together, I think is really a magic winning combo.
Yep.
And you know, it's one of those things where, again, not scared to give away the secrets, right? It's on the bottle, it's on the website. And if you see someone else with an adjusted carrier blend that all of a sudden has a marula and barrage oil in it, I think everyone will know where that idea came from, which is the beautiful blonde girl that's in the chat here at Jill. And so she, you know, Jill's experience with a couple of these oils, she uses a ton. She doesn't use lotions, she uses oils. She's used to what works for her skin. And when we introduced that into our refined blend of this oil, I mean, it was a game changer. I mean, not gonna lie, it went from good to great, and from great to the best, in my opinion. And so, no, there is something special about that, though, man. I mean, to what you said too, Dan, about styling. I don't know. I did not expect barrage or marula to make my beard more easy to style.
Yeah, it is.
It does.
Factually.
I mean, it's the simple fact of the matter. I mean, I can't scientifically tell you why it does, but I can safely say that through experience, it 1000% does.
Yeah. And Damien, this show's all about being transparent and showing you guys behind the scenes, the thoughts and what's going on. So if you guys don't know, I have a series called Carrier Oils 101 where I break down the carriers. I have gone back and forth on this, and I'll tell you the reasons why I've gone back and forth. And I haven't even said this to Nick. If you guys follow my carrier oil series, if I go over an ingredient that's not as commonly used and I rave about it because of all the right reasons, there's this wild trend where you start to see company after company after company introducing it into their new reformulated blend. Now that's bittersweet because the company that introduced it should be known for that, should be highlighted, should be spotlighted for that. But I'm also okay with other companies using it and helping out more beards. It's just not the greatest tactic to follow on that hype, right? If we want to appropriately use the word hype there, to follow on that hype, right? I did meadow foam seed oil. Before I did that, there was only one company I was aware of in the entire beard industry that was using meadow foam seed oil. Now there's lots of them. That's good for me because I love that carrier. Same thing happened with broccoli seeds. Same thing happened when I started covering bird oils, right? It just starts to really pick up once people realize the following that these things have. So if I do make one on that barrage oil, there's going to be a lot of companies getting in line and then reformulating and adding it. And again, it's bittersweet. I'm just going to be completely honest and transparent. I think it could be good for more people to experience that oil, but it also is kind of a bummer because they didn't put in the work to find it. They didn't put in the work to research it. It's just something that they say, oh, this was said. That's great. Look at all these comments. Boom, we're adding it. So that's kind of when I'm doing these things, that's kind of my thought process that I have there. There's good and bad to every situation. I will one day. There's no question about it. No question about it. It's just kind of how the cycle works. And it does hurt my heart a little bit when that happens because I believe in being unique. I believe in being original, right? My channel is based on doing everything my way from start to finish, from top to bottom. Like there's no channel when I started that was like mine. And so it's tough for me. It's tough for me to do that knowing there's going to be a lot of companies joining, whether you want to call it the bandwagon or getting in line and doing that. So it's definitely bittersweet if that makes sense to you guys. So yes, wouldn't they do whatever carrier you would cover? Not necessarily, because the way I convey things is very transparent. If I have a carrier oil video about barrage oil, I'm going to be very passionate about it because I believe in it that much. If I do one that's a good, normal, solid one, they're going to feel that as well. And so that one, there's no way I would be able to do that video without raving. And if I rave about it, call what you want, there are going to be companies that are going to try that. And so, yeah, it's just bittersweet, right? It's just bittersweet. And myself, this company, and everybody shouldn't really worry about what others are doing, but that human nature is there. That human observation is there as well. So with that said, I cannot believe it as always, but it is exactly 2:00 already, which is silly. But
No
next
idea.
week, guys, we're going to have a pro barber in studio talking about beard trims, talking about beard barbers, talking about beard products. Chris Cole, if you guys follow either Dr. Nick's or my Instagram, you've probably seen our reels that we've posted from him. And Nick has some pictures with him lining up his beard and trimming the beard. So next week, guys, going to be a pretty cool one, pretty unique one. If you have some questions for barbers, this is going to be the perfect situation. We're going to interview a barber in person. And with that said, guys, I cannot wait for you to join us next week. Please check out their Instagram. We have some really good content coming, including a little teaser post tomorrow. Nick, take them away.
Oh yeah, man. If this week was good and last week was good, next week's going to be fantastic. Having Chris Cole in here is going to be great. Getting just a professional, hands in the beard every day kind of guy in here just to be able to bounce questions and ideas off of. So it's going to be fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing what pops up on Instagram the next couple of days. Stay tuned. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending time with us, and keep being amazing.
Absolutely.